Okay, thank you very much for having me back again. It's really a pleasure to be out here. And we've been able to, Baruch Hashem, cover a lot of different areas in the world of Shalom Bayis. And I'd like to tie tonight's class into the time of the year that we're in right now, which is known as the Sefiras Omer. And we just finished Lag BaOmer, which was the end of the death of the 24,000 students of Rabbi Akiva. Now the truth is, those of you that are Sfardim, so you continue to keep the Omer all the way until 3 days before Shavuot, because the Arizal says, and by the Ashkenazim, some of us hold like the Ramah holds also different way to count, and we hold also till the last 3 days before Shavuot. But we know that the students of Rabbi Akiva, they all perished in this time period for one reason, and one reason only, the Gemara says. Shalom nahagu kavod zeh lezeh. They did not give each other, they did not practice respect one to the other. Now, if you would have walked into the Beis Midrash, to the yeshiva of Rabbi Akiva, and you would have seen the way that these bachrim, these young men, were treating each other, you probably would have seen a lot of respect. You would have seen a lot of honor. You would have seen the kavod. You would have seen it in the right way. So what does it mean when Chazal say, Shelo nahagu kavod? They did not give each other the proper respect one to the other. One of the ideas is the following. And that is that even if I think that I'm giving you kavod, I'm giving you respect, if it's not the kind of respect that you yourself are looking for, that's not called respect. I could treat you nicely the way that I think it means to treat a person nicely, but in your mind you have a whole different concept of what it means to be treated nicely. I could compliment you perhaps in a certain way for maybe the way that you learn this particular piece of the Gemara, the way that you explain that Rashi, but in your mind that's not the kavod, that's not the honor, the respect. Those are not the accolades or the compliments that you are looking for. When it says, Shelo nahagu kavod zeh lezeh, they didn't give each other honor, this one to that one, it means that I did not give you the respect that you are expecting, and you did not give me the respect that I myself am respecting. And this really will take us into the world of Shalom Bayis, of Shalom Bayit, of marital harmony, because I'd like to share with you today an idea from the Chazon Ish. The Chazon Ish, for those of you that don't know, was of his generation. He was from the greatest of the Talmidei Chachamim, of the Tzaddikim. He lived much of his life in Europe, and the last 20 years of his life he settled in Eretz Yisrael, and he rebuilt the land of Israel on Torah after the war was over, World War II. He helped to rebuild the yeshivas and the whole system, and the Shemitah year in the land of Eretz Yisrael, and the year at Shemayim, and the carefulness in mitzvot, it all came from the Chazon Ish. He was a very, very holy Jew. Now, before I read you his words, I want to explain to you a story with his wife and him, so you'll understand the person that we're talking about. The Chazon Ish was a very special tzaddik, and he married a woman that was a very big tzaddikah, big tzaddikis. And after a certain amount of time that they were married, they realized that sadly, they were not going to be zocheh, they would not have children. He understood, it was a different generation back then. I don't think that there was pua, and there wasn't bonei olam, and there wasn't a way to get fertility treatments going on. If you couldn't have children, you didn't have children, and he and his wife realized they were resigned to the fact they're not going to have kids. Now, mind you, it's the same man that many people came that were childless. He would give them brachot that they should have a child, and they would have a child. But he and his wife, they didn't have children. He also was physically had a very weak constitution. He had certain stomach ailments and difficulties and challenges. He was physically not so strong. There's stories of the Chazon Ish that he would learn until the last ounce of strength that he had, and then walk over from the table to his bed and just collapse in his bed. One time they walked into the room and they found the Chazon Ish lying on the floor. And they said, Rebbe, what happened? He said, I calculated in my mind how much energy I needed to get from my desk to the bed. But I was off by a little bit and I just fell on the floor. I have no energy left. He was a very weak person. On top of all that, his wife, who never had children with him, she at a certain age, which was maybe a little bit premature, started becoming senile. So he had a wife who was a big tzaddikus, a very righteous woman, who was unable to bear children for him. He himself was weak, and he had a lot of the Jewish world was on his shoulders, and then his wife became senile, which is not an easy thing for anyone to deal with. Now the Chazon Ish was a very sensitive man, and he felt very bad for his wife. He didn't feel bad for himself. He felt very bad for his wife. Because in the streets of Bnei Brak, even in those days, they were filled with children. And there's mothers walking around the streets with their 3 kids in one hand and the other one pulling onto their dress, and the strollers being pushed around, double strollers, triple strollers, and she has none. And the younger neighbors are moving in and they get married, and a year later they have a child. And he felt very bad for his wife. So he had a student, and he told this student, he said, listen, do me a favor. Every once in a while I want you to come to our house, knock on the door, and when my wife answers, I want you to show her what you have. Bring some clothes of yours that are ripped, that are torn, maybe missing a button. I want you to give my wife clothing that she can sew up and she can fix, so that she'll feel that you and the other boys in the yeshiva, you're like her children, and it'll give her something, a chesed that she can do. She's going to feel so good about herself. And sure enough, he arranged it, and this bacher, this young guy from the yeshiva, he would come periodically with his clothes and clothes of other guys in the yeshiva, and he would make the Rebbetzin feel like she has a part in the life of these young boys, almost like their own children. The Chazon Ish once wrote a letter, and in that letter he's addressing a young man that just got married. He's in what we call Shana Rishayna, the first year of marriage, which we spoke about before in this class. And he writes over there, this man was asking for advice. How can I be successful in my first year? Now, remember, we mentioned the first year of marriage, technically is 365 days. But that's only if you prove to your wife in the first year of marriage that you love her beyond the shadow of a doubt. If in the first year of marriage you cannot prove that to your wife, so then you're not done yet with your first year of marriage. It could last 1 year, 2 years, 5 years, 10 years. There are people that at 120, when they will go to the grave, their wives are going to say, no, I'm still waiting. I'm still waiting for you to show me that you love me. So he writes a letter to a young man who just got married. I'm not going to read the whole letter because time does not allow, but I want to share with you the main idea. And he says like this, the Torah tells us, Naki yiyeh lebeisai shana achas. You have to be free to be in your house for 1 full year. V'samach es ishta asher lakach. And you have to make the wife that you have taken as yours, you have to make her happy. That's your goal the first year of marriage. Says the Chazon Ish, choiva, it's an obligation. Meaning that just like you have an obligation to go to the store and buy yourself kosher food and only eat kosher, just like you have an obligation on Friday afternoon to shut everything down and come into Shabbat and keep Shabbos, just like you have an obligation when you wake up in the morning and put on your tefillin, that's an obligation. You can't get around it. That's what Hashem wants us to do. You should know that HaKadosh Baruch Hu obligates us to make sure that we make our wives happy. That is an obligation that you are responsible for. Now the Chazon Ish explains, Keitzad misamcha. How are you going to make your wife happy? Now you can stop for a moment and think to yourselves, what are all the ways in which I have tried to make my wife happy? There was the diamond bracelet that I bought her. There's the new car. She got tired of her car after 1 year. The lease is not up until 3 years. I bought out the lease and I got her a new car. It's the vacation to wherever they go these days, Cabo. They took her onto the beach. I spent thousands of dollars. I try to make her happy. But everybody knows with all the things that we get for our wives and we do for our wives, it is not a guarantee that they're going to be happy as a result of that. Cars get scratches, vacations come and they go, it's over. The Boulabug, what's the name of that stroller? Bugaboo, yeah, okay. She wants the Bugaboo like everybody else. And then she gets the Bugaboo until her neighbor gets the new one, the new model, and then she wants the new one as well. We know that the things that we buy and we give and we do don't always bring simcha, don't always bring our wives happiness. Says the Chazon Ish, how do we make our wives happy? And he says, Teve Shalah, the nature of a woman, Li'is'aneg al chena be'enav, she enjoys knowing that she finds favor in her husband's eyes. This is the teva. This is the nature of a woman. Ve'elav eineha nesuais, and her eyes are always looking at her husband so she can see, am I finding favor in his eyes or am I not finding favor in his eyes? Does he like my food? Does he not like my food? Does he think I'm pretty or not? Why does he keep looking at every other woman at the wedding party tonight? Why is he not looking at me? Am I beautiful or am I not beautiful? Does he enjoy my sense of humor? He doesn't enjoy. Does he think I'm a good mother or not a good mother? Her eyes are always looking at her husband to see, have I found favor in his eyes? And therefore, Allah Nishtada, you have an obligation to make the following effort. Laharois ava, you have to show her love, the kiruv and closeness, beribu sicha, by having more conversation with her, v'ritzui, and you should have words that are going to be appeasing to her and are going to draw her close. Says the Chazon Ish, how will your wife know if she finds favor in your eyes? It's very simple. If you show her. If you show your wife through your actions, through your words, through your compliments, through the way that you look at her, the way that you are sensitive to her, the way that you talk to her, if you will show her, she's always watching you, she's trying to see, did I find favor in his eyes? Then she will know that she has found favor. And she enjoys that. And when she knows that she got to that place, she's not going to be a happy woman. Rabbi Akiva's students, they did not give each other the proper respect. Meaning, what I thought was respectful to you, you had something else in mind. What I thought is going to make my wife happy, her teva, her nature is, she has something else in mind. And it doesn't cost you a penny. All it is, show her how much she means to you. That's all you have to do. You don't have to buy a car. You don't have to take on vacation. You don't have to take it anywhere. There's a beautiful story. My Rosh Hashiva, Rav Aaron Feldman, wrote a book called The River, the Kettle, and the Bird. And he writes in that book the following story. He said there was a man that he knew in Jerusalem who, he and his wife, they were abject poverty, extremely poor. He couldn't afford to bring his wife anything fancy, nothing ever. But every time that he would pass an empty lot, and he would walk inside, an empty lot is ownerless, and he would find some stray flowers that were growing, he used to pick one of those flowers, and then he would bring it home to his wife, like it's the greatest prize in the world, and he would say, here, dear, I was just thinking about you as I was walking home. This flower is for you. He said they had no money, but they had the most valuable Shalom Bayis in the world. Because his wife knew that he was always thinking about her. Says the Chazon Ish, if you think about your wife, and you show your wife how you feel about her, and you express to her the love that you have for her, then you are tapping in to her true nature, which is to enjoy knowing that she finds favor in your eyes, and then mesamcha, you are going to make your wife into a happy wife. And this is brought down by Rav Chaim Friedlander, who wrote one of the first major works on Shalom Bayis for men. And he explains over here the following idea. And that is that every woman is an Ezer Kenegda. They are a helpmate. But what does it mean that she's a helpmate? Not that she just wants to help you, but she wants to know that you are appreciating what it is that she is doing for you. She wants to know that you appreciate the fact that Hashem brought the two of you together, and she is your other half, and you're becoming together as one. And that what she has, her strengths, complements everything that you are. And how does she know that? It all depends if she's going to, if you're going to show her. A woman is always hoping. She wants approval ratings from her husband. You know, the president has not been doing so well in his approval ratings. Today they announced, he's off the charts, 55%. Now you can go to sleep tonight, he can rest easy because he just climbed the 50% threshold. A wife wants to know that she's holding somewhere between like 89% and 100% approval ratings from her husband. She's waiting, she's looking. Is she a good helpmate that is satisfying the will and the needs of her husband? And therefore he writes like this. She's always looking to her husband. She's listening to his words. She's seeing his actions. She's seeing the smile on his face. She doesn't like when you make those sour faces at her. She doesn't like when you come home and you're stressed out and you don't talk to her. She doesn't like when it's the night that is your anniversary or a mikveh night and you just totally forgot about what you're supposed to be doing. She doesn't like that. She's looking to see. She's looking to find out. Are you thinking of her? Do you care about her? Is she on your mind? Are you sending her text messages throughout the day with one of those emojis with the big bulging hearts coming out of your eyes saying, I'm just thinking about you. Can't wait to come home for dinner and spend time with you tonight. If you go a whole day and you don't talk to your wife once, or you don't send her a message once, so your wife begins to feel like he's so busy, he has a whole other life, he has an alternate universe that he's a part of, where do I fit in? Says Rav Chaim Friedlander the following idea. V'ba al sipuka v'tanugeha kasher moitza isha l'metzias chen be'enav. Her only satisfaction in this world is when she knows that he approves of her and that she finds favor in his eyes. That's what she's looking for. Now, I'm going to skip around a little bit over here, and he brings down from the Stipler. Anybody heard of the Stipler before? Heard of Rav Chaim Kanievsky? He was the great tzaddik who passed away a few years ago. His father was known as the Stipler. Now, the Stipler, listen what the Stipler wrote in a letter to a young man that's married. Ki yadua, it's known. Iker tikvas ha'isha ba'alamahi, the main hope that a woman has in her world. She's dreaming about this all day long. Sheila bal ha'oyev oisa, that she has a husband who loves her. That's all she cares about. She doesn't care about anything else. You know, it's like a kid his mother's having a birthday, and so he goes and he buys his mother a baseball bat. His mother doesn't want a baseball bat, but the kid wants a baseball bat. So he buys what he wants so that when the mother will see it, she'll say, okay, you take it for yourself. Now, did you make your mother happy? No, you didn't make your mother happy because you didn't get anything that is meaningful to her. The whole world of the woman over here is one thing. She only wants to know, is she finding Shibal Oyev Isa, that her husband loves her? Now listen to these words, and maybe you'll begin to understand why sometimes your wives are not always the happiest women in the world. When a woman sees that it's not true, she doesn't see that her husband loves her so much, kimat shekorov lipikuach nefesh, it's almost close to pikuach nefesh. It's like life and death. Miroiv tsar v'yogain ala yoisel gamuda ka'amanas chayos, because of the tremendous pain and agony that she has of her loneliness, that she sits like an almana, like a widow. She's married. You're nice guys. I'm sure you put a nice roof over her head. She's got the credit card. She goes and buys clothing for herself. She goes out with her friends to get her bubba, whatever they call those drinks these days, on Tuesdays with her friends as they go walking, either the baby or the dog, whichever one it is. So she's got everything. But if she doesn't know that you love her, she feels like an almana, like a widow. Pikuach nefesh, it's like her life is in jeopardy. The world of a woman, who abal she'oyev oisa, is that her husband loves her. Zukol tikvasa uvitzipusah, this is all that she hopes for and all she dreams of. And if the husband doesn't give her the approval of this, that he really loves her, her world has gone dark. Dark. I sometimes have husbands and wives coming to speak with me, and the husband thinks that he has taken the greatest care of his wife. He's given her whatever she wants, whenever she wants, however she wants. And the wife is sitting there and she is crying her eyes out. And he's like, I don't understand what is wrong with her. I've given her everything. Do you know how much that sheitel cost? Do you know how much that ring cost? She wanted a new car, but you know how much I've spent? And she says, do you love me? Of course I love you, I gave you. Do you really love me? If you really love me, so then why did you scream at me last night and call me names? If you really love me, then why weren't you home last night when I came home and I wanted to talk to you? If you really love me, when I asked you, could you help out with the kids in the morning, I never can find you. If you really love me, why did you forget my birthday again? Just because you bought me the present afterwards, why can't you remember on the day of my birthday? Says the Stipler, when a woman is not feeling that she is loved by her husband, her whole world goes dark. Now he writes over here, Ein gedoleinu magzimin, our giants of Torah, the tzaddikim, they don't exaggerate. And if the Stipler writes, Korov lepikuach nefesh, that a woman who doesn't feel or know that she loves her husband, it's like life and death, hadvarim heim kavyasam, that's exactly the way that it is. And it must be because the Stipler had many people that came to him and he saw with his own eyes a woman who feels unloved by her husband. She feels like she's close to death, which is a terrible thing. Nobody wants to kill their their wife. Nobody wants to know that you're driving her crazy. Nobody wants to know that you're causing her so much pain. We didn't get married to cause our wives pain. We got married to make them happy. That's the chayv, that's the obligation. How does one do that? Just show her that you love her. Yeah, it means you have to be patient. It means you have to be understanding. It means you have to be present. It means you have to put down the phone when you walk into the house and stop looking at all the scores and everything. It means, yes, you have to look at your wife in the eyes and say, hi, dear. How was your day? And then she says, how was my day? And the tears start running down her face. And you're like, I just asked you a question. I'd like some dinner right now. No. Then you have to go to the couch and you have to listen as she tells you how her day was, how hard it was. She went to the coffee shop and her friends all got exactly the latte that they wanted. When she got there, they ran out of all the vanilla syrup and she couldn't have it. It was a horrible day. and you sit there and you listen. Wow, I'm so sorry. And then she knows how much you love her. But if you can't be present, and you can't show her, and you can't be there for her when she needs you, then she doesn't know. And he finishes with these words, and Ima isha nishberes nafshis. If a woman's spirit is broken, he naifeles bedakain, she could fall into depression. V'naseis pegia lekol mine machleis chasvam, she could end up being like opened up now to all terrible, God forbid, sicknesses that could come her way. Why does your wife always have a headache? She's always got a migraine. Why? You gave her a migraine every single day, that's why. How come every day she's complaining about another ache and a pain? Because you're driving her crazy. Says the Stipler, you should know how sensitive and delicate your wives are. You have to know that. And they crave one thing. They crave approval in your eyes. You're the only one in the world that can give her that approval. Nobody on the street, not a friend, not a father, not a mother, not a brother, not a sister, nobody else. Her teva, her nature is, she wants to know every single day, he loves me. How does she know? How do you look at her? How do you talk to her? How do you treat her? You come home. Now, he writes in many other places, we don't have time to go into it, but it's important that you are doing things that are her language, are the covet, are the honor that is to your wife. And if you don't give her the respect that she expects to receive, then no matter how much covet, how much honor you think that you're giving her, no matter how many things and objects you are putting into her hand, no matter how many credit cards you say, take the credit card, no problem, whatever you want, that's not what she's looking for. Our mission in this world is to make our wives happy. And the only way that she is going to be happy is if she knows you are happy with her. That's how you talk to her. It's how you treat her. It's how you're there for her. It's how you're empathetic, how you're sensitive, how you're understanding, how you don't forget birthdays. You can't forget the birthday. You know, I celebrate the Hebrew one, that's why I didn't celebrate it. Yeah, I do. No, it doesn't. If you know already, she's expecting on May 25th, her English birthday, to be wined and dined, then you better make sure that you take care of her on May 25th. It's not going to work on Ches, on Chaf Iyar. It doesn't work like that. Says the Chazon Ish, a man that was extremely sensitive to other people's feelings. The best and the only way that you're going to be a good husband is if you become sensitive to your wife's feelings. And her ultimate feeling and her ultimate pleasure in this world is she wants to know how much you love her. You could do it. And that means, as we've spoken about before in this class, that a person has to compliment his wife. He has to see the good in his wife. He has to find the good in his wife, even though there are some days it's difficult to find. But if you look with an eye in tova, with a good eye, you will certainly find things. I want to share with you words of Rabbi Akiva. Rabbi Akiva, who again, these are his students, Shalom, they didn't give the proper honor one to the other. He speaks about husbands and wives as well. Rabbi Akiva Omer. Rabbi Akiva says, this is in Masechta Derech Eretz. Rabbi Akiva says the following: Hasayenes ishtoi, someone who hates his wife, harizeh k'sheifech damim, he's like someone who is spilling her blood. He's like a murderer. The same thing that the disciple is saying. If your wife does not feel loved, she's going to feel despised. If she doesn't feel appreciated, she's going to feel unappreciated. If she doesn't feel that you love her, she's going to feel that you hate her. And if she feels that you hate her, you have just destroyed her. And then God forbid, the things that could end up happening to her. And therefore, in this time of the year, where we're going through the Sefiras HaOmer, and we are trying to correct the mistakes that were made thousands of years ago, where they didn't give the right honor one to the other, the respect one to the other, we have a chance to give tremendous respect to our wives. But it's the respect that they are expecting to receive. And the only way to do that is show them how much you love them, you care about them, you accept them for who they are, for what they are, with all the faults. You love them more than anybody else in this world. I want to leave off with a story that could be that I told over in this class before, but it's worthwhile to say it again. Years ago, when my wife and I were in Shana Rishona, so I had a Rebbe whose name was Moshe Eisman, one of the Rebbeim in Ner Yisrael. And my wife and I were once, I think, by a chassan or by a wedding, and we saw Rabbi Eisman and his Rebbetzin, who were elderly people at the time. They were already about 75 years old. We saw the way that they were treating each other and talking to each other, and we saw that it was like a couple of Shalom Bayit that it's rare to find. 50 years probably married already at this time, and they were so loving to one another, and they were so endearing to each other, and they were smiling and they were laughing, and you could see an enormous amount of mutual respect. So we decided, it would be such a nice thing. We're in the early stages of our own marriage. Let's go spend like a Shabbos. Let's go spend Shabbat at their house, and we'll just bask in their glory of Shalom Bayit the entire day, and we'll have so much that we'll be able to learn. So we called them up. We asked if we come for a Shabbos. They said with pleasure. And we did. We spent an amazing Shabbos there. And sure enough, it was beyond what we could have imagined. We were sitting at the Shabbos table. They're both very brilliant people. And Rabbi Eisman is saying over the Dvar Torah on the Parsha. And his wife, she was feisty. She was also into it. And she began to spar with him. And they're going back and forth. And then they're laughing with each other. And they're smiling. And he's complimenting. And it was beautiful. And the way they treat each other, the way they talk to each other, the whole Shabbos was just amazing. At the end of Shabbos, my wife and I realized we just witnessed a couple that is not your average run-of-the-mill couple. They're like on a level of Shalom Bayis that's above and beyond what we've ever seen before. So I said to my wife, go and ask the Rebbetzin, what is the secret to their Shalom Bayit? 50 years. They look like they just got married. Like a bride and a groom, Chatam v'Kala, the first few months at least, they're always looking at each other with these googly eyes that are like rolling in their head, and they're giggling and they're laughing, and it's so cute. I'm telling you, they were 50 years married, and they were googly eyes, and they're laughing, and they're just as cute as a young couple. So my wife asked the Rebbetzin, what's the secret? And she answered immediately, those things that other people see in your spouse as being their biggest chesaron, their biggest deficiency and fault, you should look at them as their greatest maila, their greatest strength. And if you will always see the thing in your spouse that others see wrong as being right and being a positive, then your spouse will always find favor in your eyes. And then you will be able to show them how much you love them, how much you care about them, how much they mean to you, and how you accept them and embrace them and cherish them for exactly who they are. When you convince your wife of that, you have succeeded in what it says, V'samach es ishtoi, you have made your wife the happiest woman in the world. And then you fulfill your chayva, your obligation, and then you can go on to the second year of marriage. Even if you're 5 years in, you'll be able to start the second year after that. So it's really the happiness of your marriage. I know you like it when we speak that it's all about the women. He's saying very clear, your happiness in marriage, your wife being the happy wife, it's all is up to you. And in Mitzvah Hashem, you should all have tremendous siyata d'shemaya. Rav Dessler writes that any mitzvah that HaKadosh Baruch Hu gives us in the Torah, Hashem will give us siyata d'shemaya, heavenly assistance, to be able to fulfill that mitzvah. So if there's a mitzvah in the Torah to make your wife happy, then you should know Hashem is on your side, and He's going to give you siyata d'shemaya, that you'll be able to perform this mitzvah in the best possible way, and show your wife, and prove to your wife, and convince your wife beyond the shadow of the doubt. You love her no matter what, and with that she finds favor in your eyes, and then she's the happiest woman in the world.